Okay, so this is a special type of multiplication equation. All right, now a lot of people can get confused by this, but you really don't have to be. All right, remember, if you ever have something like that's right there, right, that negative n equals 39, right? Remember, that's just saying the opposite of n, right? The opposite of what n is. And remember, the negative, remember, that just means the opposite of something. So students always, if I say, what's the opposite of negative 7? Oh, 7. If I say, what's the opposite of positive 5? Oh, that's negative 5, right? So the opposite really just changes the sign, right? That negative means the opposite, and it really just changes the sign, right? But remember that if you ever get an equation with negative in front of a variable like that, you're not done. There's still one more step to do. All right, because really that negative n or that opposite of n means that that coefficient, that number in front of the variable n, is a negative 1, right? So what I always tell students to do is whenever you see an equation like that, right, you want to go ahead and rewrite that equation, right? Just like I have here, with that negative 1 as your number in front of the variable, the coefficient, and then you know what to do, right? You can see that the negative 1 is multiplying times the variable. So what's the opposite of multiplication? It's division. So again, you see our fraction bar for our division. And since I'm multiplying the variable by negative 1, I have to divide both sides by negative 1. And so notice negative divided by a negative 1 is a positive 1. So really there's a positive 1 there that we don't need to write, but there is a 1 there. And what is a positive divided by a negative? It's a negative. But again, if you forget that rule, what's the opposite, right? This just means take the opposite of negative 39. You got that negative 1 opposite of positive 39. That gives you negative 39. And then here's the check, right? Because that negative n, right, that means the opposite. So there's our first one. There's our n right there, which we just said is negative 39. So what's the opposite of negative 39, or the negative of negative 39 is positive 39. And that's why that checks out right there. All right. So listen, it's the fifth type of one-step equation. It's very basic. A lot of students can get confused, but there's no need to be confused if you think of it as that opposite of it is negative 1 as the coefficient. So you just divide by negative 1, or simply change the sign of the number, right? Because that's all that means. It means the opposite of the number that you see right there. All right? So keep that in mind as you're going forward on this, and that's the special type of multiplication equation. Make sure you see it as multiplication, and you'll never get it wrong.